Hello and welcome to Smooth Traffic with me, Jonny Edge, the smoothest automotive podcast out there. Keeping me on track throughout, rumoured mafioso, culture and sport geek Rob King.
Hello there, listeners.
And techspert and rampant bicycle hugger Benny Pearce.
Hello, and I'm going to be less optimistic and say hello, listener.
So, in this podcast, we're going to cover the Ford Focus ST trip I did across Europe, the Mitsubishi L200 launch, and some exciting stuff coming out of Maranello. Right then, chaps, well, I'm back from the ST trip across Europe. I thought, before I tell you more about the car, I thought I'd better tell you the route I took. So, started off in Bracknell, obviously, with Ben overnight. Left at 5:30, went to the Eurotunnel, obviously. Skipped across to France, went to Lille to pick up my glamorous assistant. Then travelled on to our overnight stop, which was the city of Fulda, right in the heart of Germany. Beautiful place. Then, the following day, Fulda through some of the national parks in Germany and the mountains, past the rivers, into northern Czech Republic. Came over the hill on a very small road and scaled down the mountain into the Czech Republic. So that was like the first leg of the trip. On the return journey back, we did northern Czech Republic to the city of Karlsruhe in western Germany in one day. Had an overnight stop in Karlsruhe, saw some of the sights in there the following day, and then went on to Paris. Next day, went from Paris to Calais, which was actually a very good route because I didn't take the motorway because I'd run out of dosh. So I took all the sort of curvy roads through the wheat fields and the farming communities of northern France.
John, we don't need your life story. This is a car show, not a travel show.
Talk about the car, Johnny. Talk about the car.
Yeah, the car was really, really good. Obviously, I had a choice from Ford of which Focus ST I took. I could have taken the petrol hatchback. I could have taken a diesel hatchback, but I went for the diesel estate because, well, when you're taking somebody with you, you're never quite sure what luggage they're going to have, and I thought practicality-wise, a diesel estate to drive across Europe would probably be the best choice, and it was the right choice as well. The estate isn't quite as sharp to drive as the hatchback as you might expect, but still really, really good, and it still inspires that kind of louty behaviour. It's got that kind of personality where it just makes you want to misbehave every time you see some nice corners coming up or you've got a straight stretch of road. So it didn't lose any of its character being the diesel estate, but the driving was slightly different to the petrol hatch I drove on launch in Barcelona earlier this year, and absolutely loved it. But yeah, great car. Can't praise Ford enough for the handling and the feel of all the pedals and the controls, especially the gear lever, are just fantastic. Of course, I'm not the first one of us to actually do a European road trip in a Ford, am I?
No, that's right, Johnny. Ben and I, 10 years ago, took a Ford Fiesta 1.1 Meridian all the way to Rome and back, with a quick stop off in the west of France.
Rob tried to kill us in the mountains. Got a little bit over keen around a few corners, didn't you? That would have been fun.
It's true. When you see nothing but a rope as a guardrail, it really puts your life into perspective.
Didn't have
European
traction control.
health and safety standards.
Traction control. Does the ST have traction control?
Yeah, all the modern safety equipment you guys didn't have back then. Yeah, traction control, differential. Yeah, it's very, very hard to make a modern car like that misbehave itself because they are so safe now. Of course, you can turn them off if you want to, but it's not really.
I wouldn't with Rob behind the wheel in the mountains, let's be honest. But one feature I did like about the ST when it was on my drive for a few days before Johnny picked it up was the fact that it had a cracking door protection system, which is ridiculous.
Yes.
But I got very excited about that. So when you open the door, this little bit of plastic flaps out and protects it from other cars and walls and things like that.
Yes.
And that's a really useful feature, as silly as it sounds.
No, I completely agree. It was really, really good in the French car parks as well. It's kind of the automotive equivalent of something that would come out of a pop-up Clinton's card, you know, the way it sort of comes out and protects the end of your door as you open the door. Very clever little tool actually, and for an optional extra, I think it's quite cheap as well. I think it was under £100, so if you want to protect your doors a bit, and obviously in some car parks you really do need to. It's really good. It's really, really good. I'm a big fan of that, and it looks pretty cool as well. And it's a talking point about the car when you open the doors, as you know.
Okay, so you're obviously quite impressed by the little paddles that come out on the door, Ben. But can we have a quick chat about the other extras that were on the Focus that you had, Johnny?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah.
You've kindly provided us with a list, which obviously the people listening can't see. But I'd just like to pick up on a couple of them. Standard things like sort of paint and sat nav, things like that. But first off, the blind spot monitoring for £525.
Yeah.
See, that sounds like a lot to me.
It is a lot.
I mean, what's it all about? Why spend £525 when you can just turn your head?
I'm inclined to agree. I think it's for the more modern drivers, perhaps, who are probably a little bit lazy and probably don't put. This is going to sound a little bit harsh, but maybe don't put the effort into driving as much as some of the more enthusiastic drivers amongst us do. I really think it's probably not an extra worth having, if I'm really honest.
I think it just encourages people to be lazy, doesn't it? Like, you should always check your shoulder, whether or not a piece of technology tells you to or not. I think it's just dangerous if you don't.
Yeah, I think if you're a really good driver, just a good driver with good habits, I'm not talking about performance driving, just a good, aware road driver, your habit is to look over your shoulder anyway. I had the blind spot monitoring on the car, and I was still looking over my shoulder to check. And there's also that thing that we all have where we don't quite trust the technology, and I think that's always going to be there. So for £525, I would say save your money, spend it on something else, or take it off the list price of the car.
Buy a TV. Anything.
You could buy a TV, I suppose, or spend.
Or buy some, I don't know, buy some physio for the crick neck that you're obviously getting from having to turn your neck. It's just something that's really irked me about the extras that were on the vehicle, John.
What else has irked you, King? What other extras?
Heated steering wheel.
See, no,
I mean, why?
Yeah.
But what for?
I'm a big fan of that. I'm a really big fan
come on.
of that.
Freezing cold winter day, and you have to, you don't want to necessarily wear driving gloves all the time. Why not have a heated steering wheel? Warm up your hands. It's not that expensive, is it?
This surprises me, Ben. I didn't realise that you took your driving gloves off.
Only when sleeping.
For £95, you can have a little touch of luxury. That's what that is, really. It's just a little touch of luxury. I used that at 5:30 in the morning when I set off from Bracknell to go to Europe, because it was that cold in England on a summer's morning. My hands were cold. I didn't have gloves with me because it's the summertime. Why would you pack gloves with you? So, yeah, it's just a little touch of luxury. It's a nice touch, and it's nice to use, actually. Once you've had one, you would find it difficult to go back to a car without one.
Okay, I can kind of appreciate that, and I suppose £95 isn't a lot for it, but you've still not sold me on it. It's not something. I mean, if it's the middle of winter, your hands are already frozen because you've had to defrost the outside of the car, scraping all the ice off or whatever.
Why not warm them up?
I mean, if anything, the steering wheel's probably going to be warmer than your hands already are anyway, because they're just covered in frost.
But why have it just warm when you can have it toasty?
I don't want toasty hands.
Well, I think, have you ever driven a car with a heated steering wheel?
No.
Well, there you go then.
Then shut up. Neither have I, but I've dreamed about it.
Come back to me when you've tried one, and
okay,
I think you'll find your opinions changed.
Okay. I mean, I'd rather spend the £85 on the door protectors than and have £10 in my pocket. But we'll I'll come back to you at a later date then, John.
Yeah. Come back to me on that one at a later date. I think anyone who's tried a heated steering wheel would find it difficult to go back to a non-heated steering wheel. That's what I think.
Okay, it's probably just psychology. But one final thing that I want to pick out: the driver assistance pack for £550.
Yes.
That tells me nothing about what it is. What's involved in that?
It's a selection of things, actually. It's a pack of 6 different options, all grouped together in one. So you've got the active city stop to stop you running over pedestrians at low speeds when they step out in front of your car in the middle of London, lane departure warning and lane keeping aid, which will warn you if you go over the lines on the road, and actually steer the car to keep you in those lines. Traffic sign recognition. This was actually quite useful going across Europe, because you're so busy keeping an eye out for things on the road in this foreign environment that sometimes you actually forget to look at the road signs. So having a reminder on the screen in front of you between the dials, actually quite useful. Driver alert, which monitors your inputs into the car to make sure you're not getting too sleepy. And the other one was automatic high beam, which didn't always seem to work properly. So I'm not entirely sure that driver assistance pack is actually an option worth ticking.
Okay.
Well, most of those things sounded like they could be quite beneficial, particularly the road signs. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's £550, isn't it? I think. Is it worth that? I'm not sure. But if it's making you safer, monitoring your sleepiness.
Well, yeah. But if we're talking about taking out the blind spot information system and the driver assistance pack, if we're building our ST here, that's over £1,000 we've taken off the price of the car, just by making it a bit more uncomfortable for us. We don't really need the blind spot information system to enjoy driving. We don't really need active city stop because, frankly, you should be concentrating when you're driving. Lane departure warning and keeping aid groups in with that as well. The only really useful one I found in there was traffic sign recognition, but I don't think you can get that unless you tick the assistance back. I would say take both of those off, and suddenly your car is £1,000 odd quid cheaper.
And you've got more money for the physio lessons for your bad neck as well.
Yes,
it just makes sense.
If you're looking over your shoulder like you should be, your neck muscles should be well, warmed up. I would say you shouldn't need a physio.
So warmed up, you don't even need a heated steering wheel.
Well, we'll not go over that again. I think we'll just have to agree to disagree on that one.
So one thing I wanted to ask you actually about the car is what was it like driving on the motorways in the Focus? Was it?
Yeah, very good actually, very good. I think I definitely picked the right car for the job. I could have had the petrol. I could have had more power, a bit more lairiness, and probably had a bit more fun. But for going across Europe, 50 miles per gallon across the whole trip, really, really good. And I wasn't taking it easy on the car. I was really enjoying myself on some of the roads when I could. Really enjoyed myself on the Autobahn. Yep, quiet, refined. Actually, a lot more comfortable than you might think. The ST suspension is famously a bit firm, but I didn't have any trouble with it, and that's coming from a guy who's had some pretty serious back issues as well. So I think I picked the right car for the trip. Out of the ST range, I don't think I'd pick another one if I had to do it again.
Can I just pick up on the MPG again, John?
Yeah.
Because that was something that really impressed me. How many miles was it that you'd done in total?
It was around 1,800 miles in total. So
1,800 miles, and you averaged 50 mile per gallon.
50 miles
That's
per
quite
gallon.
impressive.
Yeah, and I drove to Prague. I drove around central Karlsruhe, looking for a hotel for a while. It was a real mixture of roads, Autobahn to middle of cities. It was a real mixture of roads, so we got a really good and fair MPG test from doing that.
With the aircon on, I imagine, as well.
With the aircon on all the time, yeah. Obviously, my passenger was a European, so she had a different temperature always to me. So we had the dual zone climate control working at our own temperature each. It's usually about a 3 or 4 degree difference between us. So the car was having to do a fair amount with regards to the climate control there, and it was on all the time. Mountain roads, motorways, central cities, everything. And I didn't take it easy on the car. I drove it how I wanted to drive it. I wanted to enjoy the trip, so I drove with spirit, with a bit of gusto, and the end result, 50 miles per gallon. So I was really pleased with that. I'm a really big fan of that car, and being able to drive it across Europe all the way to the Czech Republic was a fantastic experience, and I really, really enjoyed it.
And if you want to see a few of the pictures that Jonny's taken, then there was a hashtag associated with that, and on Twitter, which is hashtag STTrip, I believe.
It is indeed. Yep, hashtag STTrip. There's some rather big news coming out of Maranello at the moment with regards to a new car. Actually, my favourite Ferrari's getting a bit of an upgrade.
Really?
It is, yep. We're going to have the F12 GTO Speziale, something fancy like that, but it's a Ferrari F12 with that same screaming V12 engine, but more power, lighter, even more sexy than it already is. And you know what? I can't wait to see that come out. It's been spotted testing without camouflage on. How exciting is that?
So when you see it without the camo, we're talking pretty close to launch then, do you think? Or
Good question. Not sure. I think announcement must be very, very close. If they're showing it off without camo, I don't think Ferrari would be that careless in disguising a car. There's meant to be a new Dino coming as well, which is going to be some sort of possibly 6-cylinder Ferrari. That's been spotted, but that's all camouflaged up. This new F12 with the extra power and the lower weight is more or less uncamouflaged, so they must be quite close to announcing it and showing it off. When that'll be, who knows? It's Ferrari.
So something interesting I've seen in the tech world, guys, I say tech and car world, I suppose, is this new charger by Tesla. It's a little bit creepy, if I'm honest, but it's like a snake thing that plugs your car in automatically. Have you seen it in the news or seen the video, haunting your nightmares?
Yes, I have seen the video. It is quite disturbing.
It is, yeah. I'd go along with that. I actually saw a little GIF of it on Twitter sometime, and the first thing that came into my head was just Ann Summers.
It's a little bit like that. I'm sure it's got other applications, but for the sense
I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has just been to Ann Summers and just decided that we can do that.
But with more tech.
Yeah.
Well,
instead of requiring batteries, it charges batteries.
Yeah, I suppose there you go.
But no, it seems like an interesting idea, because I presume they'll put them in the supercharger network so that you pull up in a car park and it automatically plugs your car in and you can clear off. And I suppose when it's charged, it unplugs and can plug into someone else's car if you haven't come back to do the deed. So it seems to make sense, albeit creepy.
Isn't it something don't really need, though.
No, but then, Tesla's all about innovation. It's new and exciting.
I don't think there's any innovation there, is there? I think you can just get out of your car and... I mean, Shell haven't invented a self-moving fuel nozzle in their petrol stations, so why... Yeah, but they would have done. They would have done by now. So I don't really think it's needed. I don't see it as being innovative, and I don't find it that impressive, honestly. I just think it's a bit of a show-off kind of... piece of technology. They're just showing off. I think. I don't think it'll ever make production.
That'd be interesting to see if it does.
No, it won't. Chaps, I actually went camping recently. The first time I've ever been camping in my life, and it was for the Mitsubishi L200 launch, the 5th series L200. Mitsubishi say they are #showing the world how it's done, and actually I'm inclined to believe them because it was fantastic. Either of you guys ever driven or wanted a pickup truck before?
Never had the slightest inclination, to be honest.
No, not really.
No,
not at all.
Never been a fan of the pickup then. Not even tempted at all to have a go in one.
I like a boot.
Sell it to me,
Okay, okay, I can sell it to you. So, the new L200 is more of a car than a pickup, I would say. It's the new interior is fantastic. Really, much better quality materials. You can select. It's normally 2-wheel drive, right? So it's normally just rear-wheel driven. So when you're driving on the road, you'll save a bit of fuel. Only the back wheels are driven, but you can switch to 4-wheel drive at up to 62 miles an hour with just this turn of this little sort of selector in the middle.
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? So if you encounter some icy patches or stuff on the road, some really bad muddy sections as you get sometimes around here when you're crossing sort of farm tracks and stuff, you can just flick the switch and it will change into 4-wheel drive at up to 62 miles an hour, and you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to break a sweat. Yeah, much better quality interior. Obviously, pickup truck, infinitely practical. You've got all that space out the back. You can throw all your equipment in if you want to, if you're doing extreme sports or some sort of business owner. But, obviously, being a tough, rugged off-road vehicle, off the road is where it's all about. And the L200 can do some really impressive things off the road. We were in Myra, which is a bit of a secret test facility in the Midlands. And we went on the off-road course around there, and Mitsubishi actually said they had to upgrade the off-road course to show off the full potential of the L200 for launch day. So, we went up and down some very steep, muddy banks and stuff, and we drove through some mud, some sludgy mud that I honestly thought was going to swallow us. It was that deep, and the car was just so composed, could pull itself through just about anything. And behind the steering wheel, me. Obviously a bit clueless when it comes to off-road driving. Didn't even break a sweat. It was a piece of cake, and really, really impressive what it can do off-road. Very impressed with that car. And then you get onto the road, and it's great as well. It's enormously tempting, I think, as a proposition now. It's rugged, sure, but it's something that just about anyone can own now, I think, and it's so easy to use.
And how much is it, Johnny?
Starts at just under £20,000, so it's actually not a bad price either. Actually, you'll want to go for one of the sort of higher trim levels than the base one, probably, because you get the super selector switch and some other modes like low ratio gearbox mode and things like that, and locking differentials to pull you through. Well, probably just about anything. You'll want that, I think, and you'll probably also want the slight upgrades in the interior that you get in the higher trim levels as well. So, yeah, I think if you're paying £24,000, something like that, you're probably getting the right L200 for you.
I mean, you've certainly piqued my interest, John.
Oh, good.
What hasn't piqued my interest is camping. I mean, what was the idea behind the camping exactly? How does that relate to the Mitsubishi?
Well, Mitsubishi, on any car launch they have to put on some sort of event for all of us guys, because we all have to stay somewhere the night before normally, so we're all in good shape to get cracking the next morning. Mitsubishi decided that because there wasn't any good hotels in the Midlands, they would just sort of build their own. So we all had yurts in a field, and it wasn't. It was
glamping,
camping.
Wasn't it?
It was glamping. Yeah, I've got to be honest. If I was sleeping in a double bed with a memory foam mattress, so probably not really camping. No, but it was a really good experience actually. If that's the first and only camping I think I'll probably ever do. So I've had this idea about the podcast, which is, I'm thinking perhaps we should have a drink of the podcast. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. It can be milk, water, it can be anything like that. But I think we should have a drink of the podcast, and all three of us can get one in advance and and try it, and then, share our thoughts on it. I think it could be really good. Actually, you guys out there listening, if you want to tweet me at the Jonny Edge, or tweet Rob at Robert King ESQ, or even tweet Ben if you really, really want to, at the Face of Ben, with a drink idea for the podcast, let us know, because if it's a good idea, we'll get it on the podcast and we'll give it a go. Also, any questions you have about the ST trip or the Mitsubishi L200 or even the new Ferrari, if I can dig up any information about that, again, tweet us, ask us, and maybe we can get an answer for you.
Probably best off asking Jonny about any car-related issues. If you've got anything else that you want to ask, then by all means, trouble Ben and I.
So tweet them. And tweet me as well, because I just like attention. So we've reached the end of the podcast, and I don't have anything left to talk about, so it makes sense for me to stop talking and end the podcast. Guys, would you go along with that?
Yes.
Please, for the love of God.
Cracking. So this is the end of the podcast. If you could just cut it here, King, that'd be really useful.